Hello there and welcome to another wonderful episode of Iron Pod. It is proudly brought to you by West Blue Consulting, Ghana Oil Company Limited, and Ghana Community Network Services. People, the past couple of days have been very action-packed within the maritime space of our country, Ghana, filled with a lot of maritime security challenges here and there. Just about 2 weeks ago, we had the issue of the pirates who hijacked a fishing vessel in the Ghanaian waters, particularly at the Volta region there. Some of the crew members are still missing and we haven't found them. Move away from that, we heard about the stowaway situation that about 5 or so guys from Tunisia were trying to stow away through the ports of Ghana for greener pastures somewhere. Fortunately, though, they were nabbed by the port security. And then there was also the report of the ship-to-ship illegal bunkering activity that was taking place at the anchorage of Ghana's waters. And, you know, all these things are coming up at a time that we have, as a country, have praised ourselves a lot that when it comes to security and peace, we are on top. These situations begin to wake us up and say, listen, you can't rest on the laurels. You can't be making them as pillows and be sleeping on them. You need to shake up and take some action. What are the Navy folks doing is one question that I keep hearing all around. Are the Navy folks around? Are they patrolling enough? Are they capable as well to do their business? Do they even have the platforms and do they have the human resource to do their business? With all of these questions and requiring answers, we engaged a very deep mind when it comes to maritime security and law, and that's Dr. Kamaldeen, to unravel some of these mysteries around maritime security and maritime crime.
So what's the nature of the security we have in our maritime waters in this country?
It is one that is very dynamic, and that dynamism is part of the larger regional environment that we are part of. It's dynamic because we would have assumed that many of the factors are known. That is, if you isolate Ghana, then you say that, okay, there's this level of prediction, so things are known. But the larger regional maritime security environment is dynamic, it's changing, and at times it is risk-ridden because we've had close to a decade, and now we are actually close to almost 12 years of continuous insecurity in the maritime domain, the Gulf of Guinea. Starting from 2004, 2005, we've had a continuous case of insecurity that is characterized by piracy, that is characterized by hijacking of vessels. And this has continued all this period.
So you're saying that this really started from the past, or it's been there because a lot of us have heard of piracy and all of that way back then. Maybe not the Gulf of Guinea, but it's been around for a while. Are you saying that in the Gulf of Guinea it started just within the past 10 to 15 years?
Yes, in terms of what is being significant. Okay. Just about the time that Somali piracy was at its height and dying off in 2006, 2007, Gulf of Guinea became known by 2007, by 2008. But the truth is that piracy in the Gulf of Guinea actually also started much earlier, 2004, when it started showing real signs of threat. But it was masked by the attention, the other side of the coast, that is east coast of Africa, and for that matter, the Indian Ocean. So for us, we can always say conveniently that close to 10, 12 years, we've had this case of insecurity. The truth is that for us in Ghana, we were not so much exposed, or we had not so much experienced this insecurity. But when that piracy dynamic or wave jumped Ghana and showed how it was in Abidjan or Ivorian waters, it was, and this happened in 2013, 2014. The Ivory Coast had fallen as part of the piracy wave of the region. Then it showed that Ghana was as much
at risk as the Ivory Coast.
Yes.
And But from the period that we're talking about, the past 10 to 12 years, we haven't had no experience, have we?
We have some experiences. We have some experiences of a number of, although very few, piracy, hijacking.
Of what significance, though?
Not very significant. A number of vessels boarded in Ghanaian waters. I know at times there's always a dispute as to whether they were boarded in Ghanaian waters, because at times when national authorities don't seem to be aware of these incidents, they discount them. But the truth is that some of the captains will normally just report these incidents back to their managers with unnecessary reporting to local authorities. Yeah, but we've had a few incidents in that regard, and I think there were also some more, if you want, alarm or testing that we could pick signals in maybe somewhere around 2014. There were a few vessels that reported something that was looking more than ordinary close-ups within port areas, and that was also another signal. But for most part, we will say that 2015, when we had the trio hijacking in our waters, that was the first time that we really were put on the piracy map of the region. We had three vessels that were hijacked within the space of 2 days.
I see.
Yes, I see.
Three vessels. Hijacked within 2 days.
Within 2 days, yes.
Which year was it? 2013?
No, 2015.
2015?
Yeah, 2015. So that became a significant case for us.
This wasn't widely publicized, was it? Because it may be new to a lot of people.
Yes, for those practitioners and for those who are in the maritime industry and the report, it showed. Two of them were fishing vessels. One was a commercial vessel, and they were boarded. So we had what I would call a case that was on the downside when these three vessels were hijacked in 2015. In 2016, we will have what I call a bravado news, where which was much publicized, because this time it was about the Ghana Navy being able to board, being able to intercept and board and arrest pirates. So that was welcoming news. So that one was well publicized, and indeed it had to be, because there are not that many instances that you get navies or coastal forces being able to take a vessel and arrest pirates live on board a vessel, and this was what happened in this case. So that was widely publicized. But the previous year we have had these three incidents that occurred 3 days within our waters, and that was a significant dip, or dent in our destiny, in our maritime security that we had enjoyed for that period.
What the 2016, I think, the MV Mariam one that was widely publicized, because the Navy moved in to nab these folks. How does that place our security systems on our waters? Did that give you any signal that our Navy folks were on top of it?
Yes, yes. It showed that we were that the Navy could be depended on as a source of security for us. Of course, the MV Mariam case itself, the vessel was hijacked in a way off in Nigerian waters, but it came into our waters because there was some form of communication to transfer the oil. And it will seem that some of the vessels that were interested or that were supposed to be part of the network, either they knew or they didn't know, but were supposed to receive the oil, were in ports or were within Ghanaian ports. I would think that another vessel, for example, MV Invictus, which will later also come up again most recently, was one of the vessels that was within our port areas, and that was supposed to receive the oil from MV Mariam. Although even by the time MV Mariam was taken, the oil had already been transferred.
And so, if we agree that the MV Mariam scenario gave a signal of some sort of strength or dependency on our naval force, one would ask, why then are we seeing these series of attacks on vessels in our waters if the Navy is capable?
No, the truth of the matter is that there's always a limitation with which the Navy can react. and we've also never really faced that wave as we faced, because as I mentioned, in the case of the MV Mariam, the vessel was not hijacked in Ghanaian waters.
Hijacked in Nigeria.
Yes, and because we had the ability to get information, because the vessel owners continued to track the vessel and relay the information to Ghana, we're able to track that particular vessel and we're able to intercept it. Fast forward to what we have experienced most recently, it is the fact that if we really have pirates determined to operate in your waters as it should, then we will have a bigger response, and we will need bigger scope of coordinating our activities, a bigger scope of the Navy being able to do more in order to deter such attacks. Because the truth of the matter is that the boats that are used by the pirates are faster than the average naval boats that we have.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Why is that?
They are faster because they are lighter boats.
They are smaller.
Yeah, they are smaller boats and lighter boats.
Why don't the navies, the Navy folks also have the smaller and faster ones?
Budgetary constraints, procurement requirements.
Basically, are we agreeing on something very basic, that it looks like we are not meeting or matching these criminals, the pirates, boot for boot, because we don't have the capabilities?
Oh yes, we do not have the platforms. It's just not me saying it, but the truth of the matter is that if you looked at the Navy over the years, the Navy has not been on the rise, it has been on the decline. Perhaps
in what terms? In numbers or in equipment?
In equipment. Some of the vessels that were in Navy's inventory or part of our naval vessel profile in the 70s are no longer with us. For example, in the 70s, we had vessels including mine layers, mine sweepers. These are special vessels that we've never had since those ones were decommissioned.
The bottom line is that the Navy is not as well equipped to match this criminal sea crime or criminal activities on our seas.
Yes, and partly because you never have the same number of vessels and you are dealing with a huge maritime space. You think about, I always make the scenario of what we have on land. You see, the maritime space is an open space. It's not a place where you lock out criminals on a road and you say you are intercepting them. So we need much more than is available. Of course, policymakers and other people will say that there is a limit to which they can resource. But I think that the dialogue, so far as the funding of the Navy is concerned, will have to be had openly and discussed, incisively. The maritime industry and the Navy will have to discuss the issue of funding the Navy. It looks to me, with my short time of stay in the Ghana Navy, that you cannot have government funding the Navy and you have a sustainable result. You should have some kind of dialogue between the maritime industry.
Other sources of funding.
Yes, other sources of funding, a lock-up source of funding for the Navy. That is the only way. Because
and
funding
that one, you would recommend that it comes from the maritime space.
It comes from the maritime
Not necessarily
space.
Government.
Yeah, government can also put in the pot.
Assume that we have a maritime development fund or something like that.
Exactly.
The money would then still come from the companies within the maritime industry.
Yes.
It would probably come from Ghana Shippers Authority, Ghana Maritime Authority, the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. That is still government.
Yes, but that is a different way of government. When we depend on what we all call the big government cow, which we are all chasing. That government cow where health services are required.
Education is also taken.
Is quite. That's a different. Look, Nigeria has been able to do a lot of procurement for the Navy in the last couple of years, in the last 5-6 years. A good percentage of that procurement came directly from NIMASA, including buying helis, including buying ships, came directly from NIMASA, Nigerian Maritime Safety Authority. They did that directly. Of course, it also depends on the volume that they have access to and the charges. For example, even NIMASA fees and levies are higher than what we have in Ghana. But if we have this dialogue between the maritime industry, these days when we are talking about the maritime industries, we are no longer talking about the shipping, but we are also talking about other activities that are taking place at sea. We are talking about the oil and gas industry. Just imagine that the Navy is going to have a 1% or a 2%, just a 1% or 2% going into a fund to fund the Navy from our oil alone. This can significantly help the Navy. So pooling this together in a pot is the only sustainable way of funding the Navy, because naval platforms are just expensive. They are just expensive. There is no doubt about it. And you don't expect that the government will look into the budget and say, I'm pulling out $100 million, or I'm pulling out $50 million for a platform to be bought. It's going to be something that you will not have coming anytime soon.
So that was Dr. Kamal Dean, maritime security and law expert, helping us to understand some of the maritime crimes or the sea crimes that we have witnessed in recent times, and what we need to do as a country and how we should take them as a country. We'll be engaging this topic further, and then also begin to ask certain questions how we can avoid some of these criminal activities in the future. Iron Port returns after the break.
Hello.
Good morning, this is Samantha Wendy. I am sending a purchase order from SA2 Ventures International. Our policy for new supplies is 2 containers to start with, but you must deliver within 30 days.
Don't worry at all. I'm going to get you the 4 containers within 30 days or less. Bye.
To get his pineapple slices from his country to his clients overseas, Mr. Appiah and his representatives have to complete a number of regulatory compliance procedures to various international trade stakeholders.
Hey, Brother, what's going on? Get it right? I mean, how?
Using single window, Mr. Appiah has completed all his international trade procedures through one portal. He has registered his company information, applied for the necessary permit, certificates and licenses, and all that remains is for him to get a text alert for clearance and movement of goods. And that's how simple facilitating international trade could be in a single window environment. You can offer competitive services to your trading partners in China, America, even here, in a simpler, faster, and cost-effective way. Single window, the only way to Ghana's economic growth, is in our hands.
When cleaning your vehicle by valeting, steaming, waxing, or polishing, make sure the engine is also sound. Servicing your vehicle with Gold synthetic oil and any quality Gold oil massages the engine, removes deposit, protects it from wear and tear for longer lasting performance, and makes your vehicle feel pampered. Made for diesel and super engines. Remember, after every 15,000 kilometers of enjoying your ride, service your engine with Gold synthetic oil.
We're a champion. That's why I, Azuma Nelson, 3 times world boxing champion and a patriot, always choose Goil.
Ashene Pankasa. Goil, good energy.
Welcome back from the break. You're still watching Iron Port. And next up are news and activities that are happening in and around the ports and maritime industry.
A 26-member delegation from the Kenyan Defense Staff College has visited the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority as part of their visit to Ghana to learn about the various activities being undertaken by the Port Authority and also to tour the port's operational enclave. Welcoming the delegation, a senior marketing and public relations officer of GPHA, Isaac Tewia, gave a brief history of the port and where it wants to be in the future. He told the delegation about the huge investment the authority is undertaking to expand the Tema port to 3 times its current size with an amount of $1.5 billion US. Isaac Tewia assured the delegation that the security of the port is unmatched in the sub-region. He further averred that the port has been awarded an ISO certificate which attests to the measures taken by the authority to secure lives and properties. Major Anthony Mpagazi expressed his profound appreciation to the entire management of GPHA for the support extended to them.
The Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport CILT and Berthing Meeting Association BERMA have held a continuing professional development training for its members. The training was aimed at seeking improvements in the cargo processes at the ports of Ghana and the role of the paperless system. The Tema branch chairman of CILT, Ziad Hamoui, underscored the need for members copiously work hard in upgrading their skills to be abreast with modern trends in the industry. The monitoring manager of Tema Ports, Nini Kwayamasa outlined the important role played by the ports and shipping industry in world trade. A principal IT officer from the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Francis Mafo, said the cardinal principle behind the Vice President's directive to introduce the paperless system is to reduce cost and make the port as efficient as possible. Revenue Officer Samuel Kuma, who represented the sector commander of the Ghana Revenue Authority Custom Division, took participants through the custom processes in clearing their consignments.
The paperless clearance system.
Emmanuel Obeng Ado from Meridian Port Services said MPS will infuse a lot of technology to make the new terminal the best and most efficient in the whole of Africa. Representatives from GCNet and West Blue also assured members of their readiness to provide state-of-the-art technological services to make the port user-friendly. Management of Ghana's Port Authority has held its annual Durbar to update staff of the organization on the vision and plans for Ghana's ports. The Director General of GPHA, Paul Asariansa, first congratulated the staff for the improved inputs from both the operational and administrative front over the past year.
Both the operational performance and financial performance were quite impressive.
The Director General said the authority is working assiduously to meet its financial obligations to support massive developments and noted that in his regime, cost-cutting is a major priority.
With what is happening, I have no doubt that we are capable of meeting all our financial obligations. And in fact, it also indicates that certain interventions with cost-cutting and promotional efforts that we are doing are working.
Paul Asariansa disclosed that this year, improving the conditions of the staff of the authority is high on his agenda.
Salaries are not the only way to ensure comfortable living for our staff. We are also set on a course of providing a more comfortable accommodation for you.
He also hinted off some other major developmental projects, aside the commencement of the third port to be built at Keta in the Volta region, whose MOU has already been signed between GPHA and Diamond Cement.
The projects are also ongoing. Without doubt, these projects are tapping a lot of our resources. But we are committed to give our ports a facelift.
The Port Authority Board stated that GPHA is poised to diversify its service portfolios to include a main container and oil and gas hub for the sub-region.
Growing the transshipment business, growing the transit business, and then establishing our two ports as the oil and gas hub in West and Central Africa.
CEO of the Tema Shipyard, Captain Kwesi Micah, said the dry dock has managed a record number of repair works since GPHA took over management in 2016.
So at the end of 2017, we had 34 ships worked on, which is a record as far as the shipyard production is concerned.
The CEO of the International Maritime Hospital, Dr. Bernard Boateng Dua, said the hospital has begun operations and will soon be admitting patients.
The imaging department, which boasts of the only 3 Tesla MRI in the whole of West Africa, is working together with all the x-rays and the CT scans. They're all working.
The general manager of the Tema Fishing Harbour, who was acting in place of Director of Tema Port, Kumia Jaysam, reaffirmed management's support for the Director General's vision for the organization.
GPHA is going through a transition. Within the next 2-3 years, there's going to be so many significant changes. And I know that a lot of thinking, a lot of planning, a lot of organization, a lot of mobilizing is going on. And all these things will help us to position our organization for the future.
The senior and junior staff union executives also assured the management of their full support in achieving the best for the authority after the staff shared their concerns and contributions with the management. Management of the Tema Fishing Harbour has held its first quarter stakeholders meeting to look at better ways of resolving issues bordering the fishing industry so as to improve it. The general manager of the Tema Fishing Harbour, Kumia Jaysam, outlined the new GPHA tariffs for the main ports and the fishing harbour and hinted they be officially applicable from the beginning of May 2018. Kumia Jaysam stated that provisions have been made to procure 3 mobile cranes, 5 additional forklifts, and also fix the weighbridge after it collapsed about 8 years ago. In order to make the fishing harbour more accessible and user-friendly, he said directional signposts have been mounted in and around the port.
We want to have about 8 forklifts and then about 5 cranes. working purposely for the fishing harbour so that there will be no delays in your activities.
He informed the stakeholders of plans to massively desanitize the fishing harbour area due to the outbreak of Lassa fever.
They will come and fumigate the whole fishing harbour so that it will take away the mouse from here.
Project engineer of GPHA, Komla Ofori, updated participants on the current state of the Tema Port expansion works. In relation to land issue, the corporate estate and environment manager of GPHA, James Gazy, urged all occupants of GPHA lands to acquire legitimate documents covering their use and pay the required rents.
Do you wonder what he has said when you be person in her, but in nippy person be crabby by office near Shemau. Will you so aspire or that trade there if they renew another in renew?
Some international pod news next.
The Dutch port of Rotterdam ended the first quarter of 2018 with a slight decrease in total throughput, mainly due to a drop in volumes in the dry bulk and crude oil sectors. In the first 3 months of the year, the port handled 117.8 million tons of freight, representing a decrease of 1.2% against 119.3 million tons in the same period in 2017. The fall mainly concerned the throughput of coal, iron ore, scrap and crude oil. A fully laden, very large crude carrier was shot by a projectile while underway in the southern Red Sea. The oil tanker was targeted by Houthi fighters while the ship was southwest of the port of Al Hudaydah in Yemen on Tuesday, April 3. Following the incident, the national shipping company of Saudi Arabia, Bahri, confirmed the attack vessel was its 302,977 DWT oil tanker Upcake. Greek dry bulk owner Diana Shipping has entered into a time charter contract with Rotterdam-based Glencore Agriculture for one of its Panama dry bulk vessels. Under the deal, the company's 73,593 DWT Arethusa was hired at a gross charter rate of $12,600 per day for a period of 12 to 15 months. The 2007-built ship, which is expected to commence the charter on April 25, is currently working for Singapore's Noble Resources International at a daily rate of $7,200. The Export and Import Bank of Korea has committed to provide the country's shipping industry with approximately $750 million worth of loans and guarantees this year. The loans will be provided to shipping companies for buying ships, covering operational costs and refinancing loans. The measure is in line with the government's 5-year program aimed at revitalizing the country's shipping and shipbuilding industry. Under the program, Korean shipping companies will be provided with the access to fresh funds for their fleet renewal programs.
When cleaning your vehicle by valeting, steaming, waxing or polishing, make sure the engine is also sound. Servicing your vehicle with Gold synthetic oil and any quality Gold oil massages the engine, removes deposit, protects it from wear and tear for longer lasting performance, and makes your vehicle feel pampered. Made for diesel and super engines. Remember, after every 15,000 kilometers of enjoying your ride, service your engine with Gold synthetic oil.
Gold is a champion. That's why I, Azuma Nelson, 3 times world boxing champion and a patriot, always choose Gold.
Ashene Pankasa. Gold, good energy.
Schedules of vessels that are sitting in the port, those at anchorage, those expected in the coming week, and that includes all fishing vessels that are going to the fishing harbour, as well as the Bank of Ghana exchange rate, are all next on your screens. That's it for this week's episode of Iron Port. Thank you for watching the program, and I have to say a big thank you to the entire crew who support this program: Belinda Deke, Lawrence Gazy, Robert Nyantechi, Godwin Kabute, Solomon Anderson. And folks, we have to say a big congratulations to our old man Solomon Anderson. The man is a big man now. He's marrying left, right, center and producing a lot. We have to say a big thank you to all of you. Also Joe Lavo, Joe Bone, and the executive producers of the program, Madame Abna Sewa Opokufosu, as well as Madame Esther Jebidonko, Flavia Akpai, and Grace Achere Ochre. Thanks for watching.